Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Client Classroom. Today I want to talk about something that's quietly becoming one of the biggest estate and tax planning issues facing families today, and that's inherited IRAs. Now the reason this matters is because the rules changed several years ago, but a lot of people still think inherited IRAs work the way they used to. And in many cases, they don't. Years ago, if someone inherited an IRA, they could often stretch those distributions out over their lifetime. And that's where the term stretch IRA came from. The benefit was pretty simple. The account could continue growing tax deferred for many years while the beneficiary only had to take out relatively small distributions along the way. But then the Secure Act came along and changed those rules. And for many non-spouse beneficiaries, that stretch strategy is gone. Today, in most situations, an inherited IRA has to be completely emptied within 10 years of the original owner's death. And depending on the circumstances, some beneficiaries may also have to take distributions during those 10 years rather than simply waiting until year 10. Now, on the surface, that may not sound like a big deal, but here's where the tax problem comes in. Traditional IRA withdrawals are generally taxed as ordinary income. So, imagine your son or daughter inherits a large IRA while they're in their 40s or 50s and earning their highest income. If they wait too long and then have to pull out a large amount later, they could end up paying taxes at much higher rates than expected. That's why you'll sometimes hear planners refer to inherited IRAs as a potential tax time bomb. And honestly, this catches families off guard all the time because people often tell me, my kids will just inherit the IRA. And my response is usually, yes, but then what happens? Because the IRS clock may start ticking immediately after the owner passes away. And if required minimum distributions are missed, penalties can apply as well. Now, there are some important exceptions. Spouses generally have the most flexibility. In many cases, a surviving spouse can simply treat the IRA as their own and continue following their own retirement timeline. There are also special rules that may apply to minor children, disabled or chronically ill beneficiaries, or beneficiaries who are close in age to the original owner. But for many adult children inheriting IRAs today, the 10-year rule is the reality. Another area that causes confusion is Roth IRAs. People often hear tax-free and assume there are no rules, but that's not quite true. Qualified Roth withdrawals may be tax-free, but inherited Roth IRAs still have distribution rules that need to be followed. So even when taxes aren't the issue, timing still matters. And things can get even more complicated if someone inherits an IRA that was already inherited from somebody else. At that point, the original timeline may still apply, which can leave the new beneficiary with even less time to work with. That's where costly mistakes can happen simply because nobody understood the rules. So what's one of the biggest planning opportunities here? Honestly, it starts with beneficiary designations. Because when it comes to IRAs, beneficiary forms often matter more than people realize. In many cases, they override your will and determine who actually receives the account. That's why it's important to review those designations regularly, especially after major life events like getting married, getting divorced, having a child, a death, or other significant financial changes. And ideally, inherited IRA planning shouldn't start after someone passes away. It should be part of the family's broader tax and estate planning strategy long before that happens. Because when you step back and look at it, inherited IRAs really aren't just investment accounts anymore. They're tax planning assets. And with the right planning, families may be able to reduce taxes and avoid unpleasant surprises down the road. Of course, without that planning, a large IRA can create a much bigger tax bill than anyone expected. If you'd like help reviewing your beneficiary designations, retirement accounts, or how they fit into your overall estate plan, we're always happy to help. You can schedule a time by visiting caserta-dejong.com or simply by giving us a call. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time in the Client Classroom.